Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in Guyana over the past week or so. And as is a norm, there is always a large number of issues to discuss. I want to begin by welcoming all of you who are joining us on television from Region 5 and Region 6, including all the way to Siparuta. All of you who are joining us on television from Regions 5 and 6, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To our listeners and viewers who are joining us on Freedom Radio, Rob Street, Georgetown, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And last, but perhaps most importantly, to the thousands of you who are joining us on across the length and breadth of Guyana, on Facebook Live, across the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Asia, Far East Asia, the Middle East, and all the way in Australia. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Please share the program. Press that share button on your phone so that all your friends and all your followers can join us in tonight's discussion. I see so many of you have already joined us. Neville Swami from Canada. Mr. Swami, good evening. Mohammed Rafiq, Data Nandlall, Jack Jagdeo, Belinda Henry, Robert Rampasad, K. Watson, Bansi Prasad, Deo Mahadev, and I can continue all night. Welcome all of you to another program of Issues in the News, and share the program. Share the program because I want your viewers and your friends and your followers to join us in tonight's discussion. I also want you to use the comment section. Use the comment section to express your views, to raise your concerns, to raise issues, to ask questions. I will try my best to address them as we proceed with the program. You will have to excuse my voice. I am hoarse for obvious reasons, but I have to get back my voice very quickly because we have a solid 40 days more to Elections Day, and I have to do a lot more talking across the length and breadth of Guyana. So I have to get this voice back together as quickly as possible. But we're going to talk about elections campaign shortly and at length. I just need to deal with some other issues before we get to that. So, on the 11th day of July 2025, His Excellency President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali caused a letter to be written and delivered to Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Aubrey Norton. And in that letter, the President informed Mr. Norton that he received a request from the Acting Chancellor of the Judiciary, the Honorable Yonette Cummings Edwards, that she would like to proceed on deferred accumulated leave from the 8th of July 2025 to the 7th of October 2025. And that request of the Chancellor to the President for leave was granted. The President the letter from the President further informed Mr. Norton of the President's desire not to have a leadership vacuum in an important institution such as the judiciary for such a protracted period of time and indicated to the leader of the opposition that he is considering appointing to act in that position the Honorable Roxanne George. And the President made reference to Article 127.2 of the Constitution. Now, Article 127.2 of the Constitution essentially says that if the Chief Justice or the Chancellor or anyone acting in those offices or performing the functions of those offices, for whatever reason, is unable to do so, then the President shall appoint a person to perform the functions of that office after having meaningfully consulted with the leader of the opposition. So the President made reference to this provision in the Constitution and indicated to the leader of the opposition that he is desirous of appointing Chief Justice acting Roxanne George to perform the functions of Chancellor, and that he also indicated to the leader of the opposition that whilst Chief Justice George is performing that function, he indicated to the leader of the opposition a name of another judge who he is considering to appoint to act in the office of the Chief Justice, while the Chief Justice would be acting in the office of the Chancellor. He indicated to Mr. Norton that he would like a response by the 18th of July 2025. Unfortunately, no response was received from Mr. Norton in respect of this letter. The Constitution defines what meaningful consultation means, and the President is engaging in this process in accordance with the letter and spirit of the constitutional definition of what constitutes meaningful consultation. Now, we are not without guidance on what constitutes meaningful consultation in the constitutional context. You would recall that when His Excellency appointed Mr. Clifton Hicken to act in the office of Commissioner of Police, there was a challenge, and the challenge was that the Constitution was not complied with because there was no meaningful consultation between the leader of the opposition and the President. It was pointed out to the court in those proceedings that at the time the President made the appointment, there was no leader of the opposition. Neither was there a police service commission, two agencies with whom the President is bound to meaningfully consult before he appoints a person either substantively to the office of Commissioner of Police or to act in that office. In this case, he was appointing to act, but there was no leader of the opposition for him to consult, neither was there a police service commission to consult. And the President was advised to proceed with the appointment. And he did so. And they challenged. And the Chief Justice ruled against them, that the Constitution was not violated. The President's powers to appoint can't be frustrated if there is a non-appointment or non-election of a leader of the opposition, or there is a non-constitution of a constitutional commission such as the Police Service Commission, in particular, since the non-election of the leader of the opposition and the non-composition of the Police Service Commission were not fault of the President. and that the police force is an important institution in this country for the preservation of law and order, and that it is highly desirable that there is no vacuum in the apex office of that institution. And the Chief Justice essentially upheld those submissions. Then when Mr. Hicken was granted an extension beyond the age of 55 to continue to act, there was another case filed in relation to whether consultation, I think, was conducted. And on this occasion, there was consultation between the leader of the opposition, well, the president and the leader of the opposition. There were exchange of correspondence. And yet, at the end of the process, the leader of the opposition contended that the Constitution was not complied with in terms of the president having complied with the meaningful consultation requirement of the Constitution. Again, they went to court. And again, the court had to review what transpired between the president and the leader of the opposition. The court examined the correspondence, the exchange of information, the exchange of documents, and the court concluded that the requirements set out by the Constitution to constitute meaningful consultation were satisfied and dismissed the case again. I say that so that you can have a fuller understanding that we are not without judicial guidance on the issue of what constitutes meaningful consultation. I've already heard the contention advanced by Mr. Norton on some television program that the Constitution was violated and that there was no meaningful consultation between the president and him. But the consultation is not a one-way street. And in one of the judgments of the High Court on this matter, the court went at great length in dilating on that issue, in expounding on that issue, explaining clearly that the consultation contemplated by the Constitution was a two-way process that the president must initiate, but one hand cannot clap, that there must be response and meaningful response from the leader of the opposition to these engagements initiated by the president. And it is its totality that will have to be viewed to see whether they amount to what the framers of the Constitution intended by prescribing meaningful consultation or by defining meaningful consultation. But here, as far as I'm aware, no response was received by the president from the leader of the opposition. So we have to wait and see how that unfolds. The time delimited by the president for a response has now expired. So we have to wait and see how this matter unfolds. But in my respectful view, the president, having not received any response from the leader of the opposition in the time specified, can proceed to a point as he desires. If the leader of the opposition had even acknowledged receipt of the letter, well, let me not say any more, because this matter might end up in the court. And what I say may become troublesome for me at some point in time in the near future. So I will exercise restraint on my commentary on this matter for the time being. On the 30th of July, that's later this month, the Deeds and Commercial Registries Authority will launch an office in Linden Region number 10. Again, this is going to be a historic occasion, as we have never had an office of the Deeds and Commercial Registries Authority in that region. Once again, we are delivering on a promise made by His Excellency Dr. Mohabir to establish in all the outlying regions of our country an office of the Deeds and Commercial Registries Authority. And Region 10 was the last outstanding region. And I wanted to ensure that the President's promise is delivered before elections. And we are a little close, but better late than never. I'm informed that they have already secured office space. So very shortly after the 30th of July, the people of Linden, Kokwani, the mines, the riverine communities, and all the other communities within Region 10 can access the services of this crucial institution in their region. Significantly, as you know, Linden is considered sometimes the gateway to that part of the interior of Guyana, and many persons from outside of the region come to the township of Linden to conduct business. Well, this is one of the facilities that they can now take advantage of when they decide to come to do business in the township of Linden. So the transformation across the country is continuing. The staff of the Deeds and Commercial Registry, along with yours truly, will spend 2 days in Region 10 consulting and publicizing the launch of the office, and to meet members of the public, to introduce them to the services that will now be available, and to explain to them what services are available, as well as to conduct transactions that are available to be concluded on those 2 days. On Thursday, the 29th of July, 2 important rulings ought to be handed down in the High Court. And they are rulings in the challenges filed by Christopher Ram and one filed by Vishnu Bandhu. Oh, sorry, it's Tuesday, I'm told. Tuesday the 29th. The Chief Justice, who heard both cases, is scheduled to deliver decisions in both cases. The lawyers insisted that these decisions be delivered before the elections, because as you know, these are 2 cases that essentially challenged the electoral system of our country, alleging that the electoral system is unconstitutional and that several provisions of the Representation of the People Act, under which the elections are administered, several sections of that legislation are unconstitutional. I went through the legal arguments at length on this program on previous occasions, So I don't think I want to duplicate my efforts once again. So you just recap what I said about those cases, and they are widely covered in the press. And then you will understand what the issues are, and we are going to have a decision in those two cases, or decisions in those two cases, on the 29th of July. That's next week. So let's get to the elections campaign. So the elections campaign have started. All the party, well, I see three parties are out. The PPP, obviously in all its glory. The APNU, AFC, struggling, APNU struggling along. And I see WIN also struggling along. There are many things to say, but the pictures and the videos are telling the story as clearly as possible. The PPP's rallies have been spectacular. The crowds mammoth. I have never seen so many people at these rallies that I am seeing now, at least at the two that I have been to. I have attended many public meetings on the East Coast in particular. I've spoken at least at two public meetings per night. And the support is overwhelming, And you are seeing the images, and sometimes you're seeing the videos of these meetings every night. It is an amazing outpouring of support in relation to the PPP meetings. The APNU, AFC, I've seen the rally at Square of the Revolution, and I described it, I think, as lukewarm. I have seen what they label as a rally in Bartica, but that must be considered by any standard as an abject failure. Bartica was once a strong support base of the PNC, and Bartica is the home of the prime ministerial candidate. And it was a manifest disappointment to see the turnout at Bartica last week, Saturday. And that, I believe, but before I get to that, and then we saw Melanie. I think Melanie was Sunday. And again, you saw a small crowd because it was considered a rally for the East Coast. And East Coast has several strongholds of the APNU, PNC. And they chose Melanie, obviously, because it's equicentered. You know, it's midway, so they could capture many villages. But again, it must have been a disappointment for them. I saw James Bond in his Facebook post indicating that there were hardly any persons from Melanie there. There were hardly any persons from the East Coast of Demerara there. And I saw that too. The persons were fetched in from outside of the East Coast. And James Bond posited what I know and what I have been saying at all these public meetings, that they absolutely abandoned their constituents and supporters on the East Coast of Demerara, as they have done when they were in government all across the country. And there is a direct correlation between that and the resounding successes that you are seeing at PPP meetings and rallies. There's a correlation. There is also the fact that the PPP has been doing a lot of work in these constituencies and in these villages. We have actually been working with the people on the ground. We have done infrastructural works in all these communities. That in none of them can you find a road that we have not fixed or a bridge that needs to be fixed. We have fixed all. We have worked on most and upgraded most of the sports grounds. And these people participate fully and faithfully in all of our programs. And I'm going to speak about those programs shortly. But I'm talking about presence in the villages. And that is what the people have said to us, that they didn't vote for us, but they have seen so many of us in their villages over the 5 years, while those whom they voted for, when they were in the government, they never saw them. And that's the difference. And I've not spoken about the program yet. I'm just speaking about the presence. I'm going to talk about the programs and the policies that touch the lives of every single Guyanese. And those are the things that make the difference. People see that what they were being told over the years about the PPP were false narratives intended to keep them away from the PPP so that they can remain blindly loyal to those parties because of historical connection, because of his ethnicity, and because of race. Because they know that once the people become enlightened, then the chains of racial voting and ethnic voting would be broken. And if those chains of ethnic and racial voting are broken, that's the end of the PNC. And I believe this election, those chains are being broken, and you are seeing it. You are seeing it. And it began some years ago. And you saw the inroads being made, for example, in the 2 local government elections within the last 5 years, where we made some serious inroads into Georgetown municipality, where I believe we got 5 or 6 additional seats, 5 additional seats at New Amsterdam. We won Bartica for the first time. We won Madia for the first time. We got thousands of votes that we didn't get before in Region 10. We won a lot of votes on the East Coast and Demerara in areas where we didn't get those votes before, and as well as West Coast. So the momentum was building. And now it has developed into a crescendo. And you are seeing the aggregate impact now. And there is justification for the people, there's justification for the PPP supporters to continue to support the PPP, and there is every justification and reason for non-traditional PPP supporters to support the PPP. If you look at measures that impact the small man, the ordinary Guyanese, let's forget the roads and the bridges and so on, just the ordinary Guyanese, how our policies would have impacted upon their lives. First of all, we reversed 200 taxes that were imposed on the backs of Guyanese, allowing them, by the reversal of those taxes, to enjoy millions and millions of dollars in disposable income, which the government, the coalition government, was taking from them directly in taxes. So that alone is immeasurable. The people felt that. Imagine when your child goes to buy an eraser for $40, they have to pay 14% VAT. They buy a pencil for $25, they pay VAT. When they go to buy a tablet, a medical tablet, or some medicine, they had to pay VAT on that. They bought exercise books, they had to pay VAT. They bought textbook, they had to pay VAT. People felt these things. People felt it from all divides. When you had to pay VAT on water, when you had to pay VAT on electricity, when the pensioners' subsidies were removed and VAT was imposed on utilities instead. These things shook the conscience of people. You had to pay VAT on data. When they went to bury their dead, they had to pay 200 increases, 200% increases. The rice farmers, land rentals, whether they were Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, it moved from $3,000 to $15,000 on all MMA lands, all state lands. These things had an impact. These things had an impact. And then, of course, you had the takeaway of the cash grant. It was, at that time, $10,000 per child. And people depended upon that. They took that away from the people. They took that away from their own supporters. And what they said that they will replace it with, the bus, bicycle, and boat program. So I went into their support base. I went into Buxton. I went into Melanie. And I said to the people there, they took away your cash grant. You voted for them. They took away what the PPP was offering you. And they said that they will give you instead a bus, a bicycle, or a boat. Well, I want to find a child in Buxton or in Melanie who received either a bus, a bicycle, or a boat. Nobody could say that anybody received it. So they took this money from thousands of children across the country. And I don't know who got the bicycle. I don't know who got the boat. I don't know who got the bus. People saw that. People saw that. They promised the students at the university that they're going to reduce tuition fees. They raised the tuition fees instead by 60%. They promised young people jobs. And then when they got in, they appointed a cabinet of pensioners. The young people were left alone by themselves. And when they were asked for the jobs, what did the president say? They must go to Starbrook Market and sell cook-up rice and plantain chip. I can't make these things up. These things are there. And then what are they enjoying now? The cash grant is now at $55,000 per child. You have uniform vouchers. You have a school feeding program. You have free textbook, free exercise book. 200 taxes have been removed. You have no VAT on education, no VAT on pharmaceutical products, no VAT on water, no VAT on light, no VAT on most food products, no VAT on agricultural equipment. That is what, and these are little things that every Guyanese are enjoying. They're living it. That's why I don't want to talk about roads and bridges and highways. I'm talking about real things that matters to real people. And then, of course, we are now paying for the kids' CXC's fees and CSEC fees up to 8 subjects. And then we are paying now for the university fees at the University of Guyana. It's abolished. Tuition is abolished. And then we have a gold scholarship program that 39,000 Guyanese have enrolled on. About 10,000 may have graduated already. 39,000 in 5 years. Who do you think these 39,000 people are? The people are remembering that APNU, AFC went into their village and told them, don't enroll. I remember I went into those villages. Many of my ministerial colleagues, we went into those villages to talk to the people, to tell them what kind of leaders do you have who will tell you don't educate yourselves. The people are not stupid. As Bob Marley said, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You can't fool all the people all the time. And then the people have seen the $100,000 cash grant. They now, when they make a baby, they get another $100,000. And these are going to increase. Then, of course, they have their increase in wages. They just got 10% last year, the public sector. They got another 8% retroactive this month to January. The people are living this reality. The discipline forces bonus that was taken away, they have historically voted for PNC. What did they do when they go in government? They took away the people bonus. We have restored it. Then we have raised the income tax threshold. Every year we have been increasing it. It's now $140,000. Tax-free money when you work. And we have passed 5 budgets in 5 years and not imposed a single new tax. We have not increased the taxation base by a single dollar. And we are giving rebate now. You make children, you get tax rebate. We got mortgage relief going on. And these are things, as I said, every single Guyanese are living it. So when a politician goes around and talks about a different reality, you see how they are ostracizing themselves from their own supporters because the people are living a different reality. And the people know that just a couple of years ago you were there, you never did anything for us. You come tell us now about cash grant, but when you were there, you took away our cash grant. The people are reasoning. The people in those villages know that they never visited them. They promised that they're going to do agriculture in the backlands on the east coast of Demerara. They went and they negotiated IDB loans to do massive agriculture in Buxton. They never went in there. I go in Buxton all the time. We go in, the Minister of Agriculture is there all the time. We have Buxton Farmers Group, we have Golden Grove Farmers Group, we have Bachelors of Venture Farmers Group, NARI is in there, Guyana School of Agriculture is in there. The people are living a different reality. And then, of course, look at the Spectacles grant. We are giving every child in this country $2,000 to go and test their eyes. And if they have to get glasses, the government is paying $15,000 towards the purchase of those glasses. Then look at our health voucher. The health voucher. You have a lot of money. Now I think you have a voucher to go and do a universal health test. You choose what test you want. You have about 50 US in that direction. You're getting that free. Then you have a whole set of measures for pregnant mothers. And then you have $600,000 contribution towards dialysis treatment for persons who need that type of treatment. And I'm not even touching the 12 world-class hospitals. We are building our arrangement with Mount Sinai. But look at the thousands of nurses that we are training, and we are paying them to train. They are getting $100 and something thousand while they are being trained. People are living this reality. People are living this reality. We have doubled old age pension, double it, and it has to go higher. We know, but it must be done in a sustainable way. Look, we have put an intervention in NIS that has benefited thousands of persons from 750 to either 750 or nothing. You can make up to, once you get up to 550 contributions at NIS, you are qualified for a grant. Hundreds of people I know are benefiting from this new measure. We have created 60,000 new jobs in this country. When they were there, they knock off 30,000 people, including 7,000 sugar workers. We have hired back thousands of sugar workers, but we have created new job opportunities to employ 60,000 people, 20,000 new contractors. Buxton had 2 contractors. Buxton alone has about 150 contractors. So does Melanie, so does Golden Grove, so all the villages, Monrepo, Annandale, you name it. That is what we have done. The people are living that. And they're all getting contracts. We have tweaked the procurement process and system. While we are ensuring that the law is complied with, we are also ensuring that you have a more competitive system that allows for new and small persons to compete. Look at the intervention that we have done to subsidize fuel in the country. We are putting about $500 Guyana in subsidy towards every gallon of gas that you buy. And that's why your light bill has not increased. Your light bill has not increased in 5 years. Though fuel price has moved from as low as $28 per barrel in the world market to as high as about $84, nearly $90. Now it might be high, I don't know, with the war in Iran and then what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. But you have not paid any increase in prices in gas at the pump because we have been cushioning that. We have been subsidizing it with the removal of all taxes, also on diesel and kerosene oil. That is what we have done. And that's why I want to talk about these things. Because you don't get to talk about these things. These things touch everyone. On the political platform, you want to talk about the big projects. But it's not the big projects alone that matters. These are the small measures that touch the lives of every single Guyanese. And I'm showing you why people from all races are coming to the PPP. Because they are living this reality that I'm calling out to you here. Look at what we have done to stabilize the change or the increase in shipping costs. We have insulated that from you to some extent. We can't control the shipping rate costs from China to Guyana. But what we have done, we are pegging the value of your goods at a pre-COVID value. So that when your goods are calculated for the payments we are calculating the shipping rates at the pre-COVID rates. So at that it was about 4,000 US to ship a container from China at that time. Now it's far higher. It was as high as 18 and 20,000 during COVID. It dropped a little, but it's still substantially high. But you're not paying that rate to calculate your goods that you're bringing, that your importers are bringing in order for them not to pass down that increased shipping cost to you. We are calculating their duties and excise taxes and VAT at port of entries at a pre-COVID shipping rate. Because you know how you calculate it. You add the value of the shipping to the value of the goods. So right there you're getting millions and millions of dollars in subsidies. And I have not even gone into the housing sector, because I believe one of our massive success story is housing, where we have delivered already 50,000 house lots to Guyanese over the last 5 years. I was so proud when I saw our minister, the Honorable Colin Crowell, hand over the 50,000th certificate of title. Last week, it was in the news. I saw that. I felt very, very proud. Those are achievements that you can hardly compare them with anything anywhere else in the world. And these are lands that we took. They were cane fields, cow pastures, swamplands. And today, you have mansions on them. We have built them up, dug roads, dug drains, irrigated them, surveyed them into plots, put water, put lights. And then we go with you and your title to the bank and we negotiate for you a loan at an interest rate that is 4%. And now you can borrow as high as 30 million. I don't think that there is any government anywhere in the world that has made the type of accomplishments and achievements that we have made. On the East Coast alone, I was telling the people, there are 10,000 house lands that we have distributed. 10,000 just one strip of the country, a 20-mile stretch of land from Georgetown to Mahika. 10,000 house lands. Thousands of houses have been built. So these are the reasons why the PPP supporters must feel justified in voting for their party and staying firm and resolute in support of their party, and why others from other political parties are coming to the PPP in these large numbers, and we are welcoming them. We are welcoming them. They have a place because our objective is to create a national party. And I believe we are very, very close, or we have not achieved it. We have achieved it already. And that's the beauty of the crowds that you're seeing. They're not crowds of one ethnicity. When you look at the crowds assembled at our rallies and our public meetings and our nomination day procession, they represent the face of Guyana. And that's an achievement to be proud of. People understand what we have done in the oil and gas sector by the passage of the local content law. People understand that. Guyanese from all walks of life, in particular, the business community, are participating with dignity and self-respect in the oil and gas sector because we have passed a law that mandates their participation, that protects their participation, that guarantees their participation. Trinidad and Venezuela pumping oil for 100 years, they don't have any such law. We did it in the first 2 years that we got into government. Today, thousands of jobs have been created in this sector. Created for Guyanese. This sector is generating millions and millions of US dollars local, for the local community, the local businessmen. And they are investing heavily in this sector, and everyone making money. It's the Guyanese people who are benefiting from this. Look at the investments now in shore-based facilities. Look at the investments of our local businessmen in our port facilities, in Berbice River, in Demerara River. You're reading about it in the newspapers and in the media. People are seeing the investments that we are making for their children. I dealt with a lot about our schools. We are building 20 secondary schools as I speak. We have already completed 20. By the end of this term, we would be, hopefully, 40 secondary schools we will have built. I don't think if you go across the Caribbean, you can have that kind of accomplishment. And then we have a multi-million modern oil and gas training institute that is being built in Berbice. Then you heard the president spoke about the medical training institute that we're going to have in New Amsterdam that's under construction, where Berbice will be the training capital of possibly the Caribbean. People are seeing these things are not castles in the air. People are seeing, they're living this reality. The rice farmers, they know the interventions that the government has made, and they knew how neglected they were. When the president of the day told them plain, rice is not government business, rice is private business. When the promises of $9,000 a bag for paddy was mocked, that they promised them that when they were in opposition, when they go into government, they were slapped in the face and told that that's private business, we're not getting involved in that. Rice farmers are seeing the help that they are getting, fertilizer aid, they're getting help with all kind of species of rice and research materials. You name it. The irrigation, the help that they're getting in irrigating the agricultural lands alone, the government is spending billions and billions of dollars. So you notice that I have not talked about the Demerara Harbour Bridge, I have not talked about none of the major infrastructural projects, not gas to shore or anything. I've spoken about the people-centered policies that touch every single Guyanese. And I have just reached the tip of the iceberg. I can go on to talk about for another hour about these measures. And there is so much to speak about. It is so easy to campaign. There's the other thing. And perhaps that's why I'm losing my voice. Because I'm talking too much, because there is too much to talk about. You know how difficult it must be for the opposition? Because everything that they say, a simple answer, well, you were there, why didn't you do it? They're going to tell you that they have oil money. That's not true. They had oil money, but forget oil money. What did they do with the other money? They passed 4 budgets. A total of $1.something trillion. What did they do with it? They took away the children cash grant, so you save a lot of money. They were buying fuel at $28 a barrel. Instead of giving the people a reprieve on their light bill, they put VAT on it. They could have paid higher salaries. Now they're promising better roses when it comes to salaries and pensions. When they were there, they give themselves 50%. What did they give the people? How much house lots they give out? Where are the house lots that they give out? Annette Ferguson got, Mahipal got, Walton Desir got, and I could name them. How much scholarships they give out? Tabitha Sarabo got, Annette Ferguson got, Nicolette Henry got, Simona Broom's 2 children got. How many of your children got? How can they answer these questions? How can they answer these questions? They can't. What opportunities did they give to young people? Now when Norton is being braced with the question, Norton's answer is the young people are not involved. That is poor fella. He doesn't know what to say. And that is why I am saying to you how difficult it is for them to campaign. He was forced to say that the young people not getting involved. He was forced to say that because they have abandoned the young people when they were in government. And because of their poor showing at Square of the Revolution, and because of their poor showing at Bartica, I am told that they went into their war chest and they brought out their best. They brought out youth. They brought out vigor. They brought out energy at Melanie. They brought out Hamilton Green and Basil Williams. One is about 105 years old and one is about 80 years old, and I'm not being disrespectful. I don't know the gentleman ages, but that's the firepower that they bring out. And I saw Paul Williams, a former Deputy Commissioner of Police, speaking about he was discriminated against. Well, if he was discriminated against, it would have been by the David Granger administration, the very government, the very party that he's supporting. Because it's Mr. Granger that overlooked him and overlooked Mr. Hicken, who was the most senior, and appointed James, and then when James left, appointed Mr. Hoppy. It's Mr. Granger who did that. And we kept Mr. Hoppy, kept on in office until he went on retirement leave. And the next senior, well, Mr. Hicken is more senior to Hoppy, more senior to James, more senior to Williams. And Hicken was left behind. And Hicken was made the commissioner after Hoppy left. So I don't know who he's alleging discrimination against. Can't be the PPP government. Cannot be. Because he was junior to Hicken. And he was junior, I think, to Hoppy too. So I don't know who discriminated him against him. But these are the stories that they make up. And the sanction man, I haven't had an opportunity to deal with him, but to me, the least you say about him, the better. But I will deal with that on another occasion. So in this episode of Issues in the News, I try to deal with the people-oriented policies and to revisit a few of them to try to explain why, well, to remind you who are listening, why you have to, your support of the PPP is completely justified and vindicated, and to explain also why new persons who never supported us before, are finding us attractive. And significantly, when they come, they feel at home. All of them are speaking about the welcome that they have received within the family of the PPP. Because I've been interacting with them, and you know when people are not genuine, and I hear them, I speak with them at political meetings, and they are telling you about their reception and the warm embrace that they have received since they come over to the PPP. So I thought that I will deal with these issues, these small issues, because sometimes we often concentrate on highways and bridges and airports and Deepwater Harbor and the hotels that are being built and the gas to energy plant and the major port facilities and so on. We've got to talk about all of that, but we also got to spend some time to talk about the things that are touching every single human being and improving their lives. Just look at data, the cost of data, how that has changed over the last 5 years. We broke the monopoly that GT&T had. In about 3 months after we took government, we broke that monopoly, a 40-year-old monopoly, and we allowed other competitors to enter the sector. And today you have many service providers, higher quality, lower price. Competition does that. And who benefits? All the people of Guyana use data. You are watching me now using data. So, friends, I want to thank you very much for spending the past hour with me. I believe that we have touched a number of important issues and covered a large depth of materials. I have to resume the campaign trail. Hopefully I get back my voice, and I will see you next week, Tuesday, as we continue. And I'll dedicate an entire program to deal with the attempts at rigging. I will do one program on that alone because a lot of people want me to talk about that. Thank you very much for your attention.